So we can just get started. Yeah, thank you for joining. My name is Matt Klassen. I'm the Executive Director of TMA BlueTech. For those of you who are unfamiliar with TMA, we are a member-based organizer of the leading BlueTech cluster in the US and one of the largest in the world. And we believe that organized regional BlueTech clusters are the best way to explore and protect ocean and water resources. So with that, I'd like to welcome everyone to our first BlueTech Global Connect of 2022. BlueTech Global Connects are our monthly webinar series that bring in companies from around the world. They talk about diverse sectors of the blue economy. And today we are hosting this webinar to talk about the intersection of space applications, Earth observation, and the blue economy. Today we are going to have three companies presenting. One is GeoSat out of Portugal with Francisco Cunha. Then we have Xona Space Systems with Miguel Cardoso from the US. And we have Geoflex and Romain Legros will be presenting, and this company is from France. The moderator for today's discussion is José Freitas from Edison. This is also a company out of Portugal. A few items before I hand over to José. Please make sure to mute yourselves. I think we all understand that. Each presenter has 8 to 10 minutes to present. If any of us from the audience have any questions, please write them down into the chat function. And at the end of the third and final presentation, we will be able to ask these questions to the presenters. So with that, I would like to hand over to José. Thank you very much and good luck today.
Thank you, Matt, for the introduction and also for the invitation to this fine event. I would like to greet the other members of the panelists, so Francisco, Romain, and Miguel, and also to greet all other attendees and participants and welcome you also to put your questions and be interactive as much as possible in the time frame that we have. So, well, first of all, let me present myself. My name is José Freitas, and I am responsible for sales at the Edison for the market of on my professional experience. I have over 20 years in the aerospace defense. My background is in ITC. I have a degree in computer science and also a PhD in Earth observation for sustainability. So coming a bit now direct to Edison. So let's see if we can share the screen. So I'll take that you guys can see it. So brief overview of Edison. Edison is a company established in 1988 in Portugal. We are part of the multinational Thales Group, which is a French-based industrial conglomerate of about 80,000 people. The other two shareholders are the Portuguese Ministry of Defense and our air navigation service provider called NAV. We work on 4 main areas. One is naval systems, mostly with tactical systems for the Portuguese Navy ships. Also cybersecurity and digital identification, which is an area that is growing quite a lot. Then the air traffic control systems, and then the space systems. So I'm responsible for sales in the secure communications and space systems. Most of the resources are in Wales, which is just near Lisbon, but we also have a team in the Azores. Going directly to space, we are divided in 3 areas. One is ground systems, then Earth observation, and the third is software systems. Going directly to ground systems, what you see here is the Santa Maria teleport. This is a critical infrastructure which is situated in the island of Santa Maria in the Azores. This teleport is operated by Edison, and it hosts ground stations for diverse actors. So one is the European Space Agency. So it's the top right equipment, which is used for tracking launches from crews, mostly Ariane, Vega, and Soyuz. We have a station from the European meteorological satellite operator called EUMETSAT. We have a Galileo Global Navigation System, a satellite system sensor station on the right. The big antenna on the middle is a 15-meter antenna, which is brought from Australia and is owned by the Portuguese Space Agency. And then we have a lot of new space actors, and this includes IoT. Now we have SpaceX on board as a customer. We have satellite IS. We have launch vehicle tracking. We work with Rocket Lab, for instance, of New Zealand. And we are now having an SST radar for to support the space traffic management. We also, one of the key aspects is the launch support. We are one of the bidders to the Portuguese spaceport, which is to be installed in Santa Maria. We hope to have more news on that in the next couple of months. Regarding Earth observation, we are one of the key added value service providers to the European Maritime Safety Agency for near real-time services. And we have our processing chain, which is called Oceanine. And we use this to process images and deliver added value products to the maritime authorities. We're talking about monitoring oil spills, detection of illegal smuggling, illegal migration, suspicious behaviors, but also to detect or to identify parameters at sea, such as wind speed, wave, etc. And we also, outside of the Portuguese waters, we map icebergs. So just a few examples of ship detection off the Portuguese coast. We have the service that when there is an oil spill, we also identify who is the most likely culprit to have dumped the oil at sea. So this is again our processing chain, and we use the Santa Maria teleport to download images, which is at the moment SAR based, and we mostly rely on Copernicus Sentinel-1 and the Canadian RadarSat-2. Well, I'm pleased to say that we have done some tests with GeoSat in the attendance, and we are very happy to see a complete value chain of Portuguese companies doing the working on space all the way until the end users. This is a key aspect, I think, worthwhile mentioning that Portugal is definitely a space nation. And thirdly, we have the aerospace system. This is concerned with the development of technology. Our key reference is a real-time operating system, so a software that runs onboard satellites and payloads. You can think of, for the ones here that are not so much savvy with this angle, this is a operating system like Windows would do, or some other operating system, but especially targeted to run onboard satellites. That means it has a fail-safe approach. It's well tested and really does not bog down or have blue screens or anything like that. So it's qualified for DAL level B. So level B is the second highest quality standard for software on board. DAL A is when you're talking about a human life critical function, and this is our next target. Just for the reference, it's used in satellites which are working under EU supervision. So, for instance, European Space Agency or EUMETSAT, but also it is sold on the global market. I just highlight, for instance, the South Korean COMSAT 6 and 7. These are Earth observation satellites that also use this real-time operating system. Briefly, we are working in two satellites. One, we are risk-sharing partners with LuxSpace, which is a part of the large OHB company. and we are working them on a new platform, which is up to 200 kilos. It's a family of satellites, to be fair. And we are working here on the onboard controller. We are working on the electronic ground support equipment or test bench, and we are also having a role of independent software verification and validation. And this more closer linked to the topic of today. We are leading a Portuguese space mission. This is a small CubeSat, so it's a new space approach. And we are developing with a consortium about 15 partners plus the MIT in the US, a new platform that is tasked to monitor the ocean. So it has a lot of environmental and it's more of a scientific mission to, for instance, detect sea surface conditions like color. It has integration of new technologies like a software-defined radio and other different types of sensors. This is expected to be one of several. We expect to make a constellation, and this is to be launched either in the second half of this year, maybe early 2013. So this will be announced, and I hope that there will be opportunities for the attendees here at today's meeting to have access to this data and help to use them to create their own business models and to contribute to the sustainability in the blue world. For my part, this is all. So if there's any questions, again, probably we should leave it to the end. And so I would pass the word to Francisco Cunha.
Great. Josette, thank you very much, and thank you to Matt and Danielle and all the team for inviting us to be here. We are actually quite happy to be able to participate in this session and hopefully to discuss some of our views on the business, the space Earth observation business, and how it can connect with the blue economy. One of the challenges that Matt and Danielle brought forward to us was don't talk about just about what you are doing, but talk also about how did you get here? What have you done to reach here, and what type, at least from our understanding, what type of lessons learned we have here. So this is where we would actually start, is to giving you some background on GeoSat. GeoSat, in fact, it comes from well, quite a unique coalescence of situations. In 2020, EarthCast, the Canadian Space Group, requested for creditor protection in Canada, and all its companies filed for bankruptcy. One of them, or some of them in Spain, were operating two satellites, then known as Deimos 1 and Deimos 2. And these satellites were on the verge of becoming inoperational, because if there wasn't a team to manage them, very quickly they would come out of operation and they would be unrecoverable. What happened then was that a set of companies and a group of companies and research centers in Portugal came together and decided to accelerate the strategy that we have had for many years, and to go, instead of just developing satellites, go directly to the operation. So we provided a proposal to acquire the assets, and well, since the beginning of 2021, we started operating the satellites, and we were able to also hire the team that was operating these satellites in Spain, and now also in Portugal. So what have we done? We have developed a company that we want to be one of the key players in the Earth observation business. This is our new corporate video. I would challenge you to go and check it out on our website, geosat.space. And this provides a new positioning into the market. GeoSat positioning itself to deliver the right image at the right time to the right user. So this is just teasing. You'll see it afterwards in our website. GeoSat is now it has three main shareholders. It brought together a company, a space company, Omnidea in Portugal, that had the technology and the know-how in the space sector. SEA, it's an engineering center, also in Portugal, that can deploy a huge engineering capability to develop the new products and services that we need and that I will tell you about. And then the Earth Center, which is most of all network to reach Atlantic users. And here I see also some connections with the TMA. Danielle also asked us to explain what was this partnership or that we have with Mexico. And so here it is. What happened was, to reinforce the business model, we got investors from Mexico, and our agreement with them is that they get the satellites for the Mexican territory, and so they have the exclusive access and ownership of the satellites over that territory. And this is very important because it allows us to get the partnership to go to the end customer and to deliver them what they want in their own location. Something that without this type of agreements and engagements, we would be much lesser able to reach customers, to reach markets that are not so close to our area of comfort, our zone of comfort. Very important here was that we were able, as I told you, sorry, we have an ambulance nearby. We were able to get the team that was operating the satellites and that was working with the satellite imagery. And this was critical to make sure that we were able to continue the business and to maintain operational capability throughout this transition phase, and then leverage the company to the next stage. I believe most of you don't, when we talk about LEO satellites, and Matt and Danielle warned us about this could be not as clear as for people that work with them every day. So this was just to explain to you. Well, a satellite orbits around the Earth, in the case of ours, at 500 to 600 kilometers altitude, and they go around the Earth 15 times a day. So this is the track that they cover in one day, the next day, same thing, and the other day, the same thing. It allows us from every 2 days, or even daily in some latitudes, to be able to deliver an image over the same area of interest. So, and when we talk about satellites, what are we talking about? Well, first one is GeoSat 1. Now it's a small washing machine. You can imagine it, right? It's a wide coverage satellite. It allows us to cover strips of 600 kilometers wide throughout the entire Earth. It provides this type of imagery that are critical to assess status of vegetation, fires, irrigation, and so on. We have here our innovation director, Sylvia. She's here, and if it's useful, she will help you to better understand what we are currently doing here. Then we have the high resolution satellite. It's a satellite that gets like 2 meters from end to bottom, and it allows us to take very high resolution imagery. Right now we go below 50 centimeters per pixel. It's actually it's the benchmark of the market, and this allows us to have a different type of applications. Maritime monitoring, vessel detection, as Jose was saying earlier on, and also change detection. Here it's to the people that are in the US, it's closer to them, to assess the change throughout time. So it allows us for longitudinal studies as well. Then just to highlight what we do with the satellites in the end. So we use the wide coverage satellite, GeoSat 1, to take a wide view image and to understand where is the target that we need to monitor. In this case, it was the volcano that was active in the Canary Islands some month ago. And then we go with the very high resolution satellites, and so we go there and we can see the lava river, and we can see what is happening to the different parcels of land and to the houses. And then we do some change detection, and you see in one day the lava river goes like this, and the other day it goes into the river and the delta grows. And then it comes the analytics. It's not as impactant visually, but it allows us to understand what was in fact affected by this volcano, for instance. And this is the type of products. I will stop now. I'll just scroll down through some of our products just for you to get a better grasp of what type of imagery gets out of a satellite. And I would spend this last few minutes on telling you about what Matt and Danielle asked us to. How have you arrived here? What are our challenges, and how do we see our strengths into this business? This is maritime monitoring that we've just mentioned, change detection. Then we do some analytics here. This is Sylvia's work, and then some oil spill detection that is more relevant to this community, I believe, and then super resolution as well to be able to see the lines in the football field, in this case in North Korea, for instance. So what are our challenges and how do we see them? The first one is value proposition, and this is very critical. How do we present ourselves to the market? Are we the guys that are selling imagery here, or are we the guys selling intelligence? Well, you can say, well, let's add value onto that. Let's sell intelligence. That's great. But some of our customers, they develop intelligence by themselves. So we would be competing with them. So this needs a very case-by-case approach, and it needs to be very clear so that our partners and customers, they understand where we are right now and what they can count from us. The second one is that we work with a wide breadth of customers. And this is just to highlight to you that we go from commercial customers that want the most simple interface that you can get them, that are very price sensitive, and that require a service that can be more or less industrialized or automatized in some of the cases. To other types of customers like defense, they are not as price sensitive, but they are very stringent in what it concerns what you deliver, processes that you use, and so on. And also to the institutional customers that they could be somewhere in the middle. We are in this VUCA environment, right? Very volatile context. We see new trends coming up. We were in a sector in space in which everything was more or less conservative, right? Things were going on, and we had an innovation pace that was not as fast as we see in IT. Now we are required from the competition, from the competition and from our customers to go as fast as IT, for instance. I would not go into the pandemics, and with competitors that are both direct and indirect. Some of them can be replacements to the type of imagery that and type of service that we can provide. I will just spend this last minute on highlighting to you our strategy. We have a short-term goal is double the sales, and this requires us to enhance market channels. Then we need to develop new products and services to be able to be more competitive, and afterwards to prepare what comes after the satellites that we are currently operating. So in terms of these critical factors of success, we need to count on the team. In the end, it's always people. And we also have here our head of people operations that also can help you to help to highlight what we are doing to do this, because in the end, people make the company or break the company, and this is critical. Then we need to get everything together. Innovation, technology, people. Technology by itself, it doesn't do that. We had a company that had a lot of silos, and then we had the challenge to get everything working together. It's a huge challenge, but we are confident that the critical factors of success lie here. Then it's a value proposition that I've mentioned. We need to be very clear. We need to be customer centric, more and more understand getting on the end of our customer. Because if we saw that what we would like, we would be selling an image that was standard. But no, the customer doesn't want the image, wants the information from the image. And we need to be able to learn those trends and to learn the customer. Then have the channels to reach the end user and the customer, because otherwise we'll have a great product that stays in our house and doesn't generate a revenue. And the partnerships, of course, because there was this African proverb that said, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with other people. But I think we need to see it differently, because nowadays, if we want to go fast, we need to go with partners, because we cannot be reinventing the wheel. And finally, the one is that we need to anticipate context, and the pandemics was highlighting this very well. The context is continuously changing. We need to be 2 steps ahead, because otherwise our current competitors, future competitors, they will take our space in a moment. So this was some highlights. I would be glad to discuss them with you. You have also my contacts, and we'll be looking forward to take this into next level in terms of engagement and collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Francisco, for this compelling and impressive presentation. I'll pass the word to Miguel. Just also a note, we seem to have some difficulties with the chat, so we'll leave all the questions to the end. Very much so, Miguel.
Sachant qu'il y aura peut-être un point d'orgue au moment de l'assise du New Space.
Please let me know if you can see my screen.
See your screen.
Yeah.
Imaginer, mais bon, ça va un petit peu dépendre des thématiques, parce que vu qu'ils ont tous travail amont qui se fait.
Sorry.
Et
Could everyone who is not presenting now
Marie-Pierre, coupe le micro.
use their own mic?
avec 16 coordinateurs et que ce sont ces thématiques-là derrière qui vont être discutées pendant les assises.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a few minutes until the room is quiet.
I just muted the person who had the background noise, so I think you're clear.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, all right, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Miguel Cardoso. I'm the European Operations Lead, and yeah, happy to tell you a little bit about what we're doing over at Xona. At Xona, our mission is simple. It's to enable modern technologies to operate in any environment safely anywhere on Earth. And the way that we're doing this is by building the first commercially owned and operated satellite constellation dedicated for position navigation and timing services. We do have offices in the UK, which is where I am now, one in Vancouver, in Canada, and our head office is based in San Mateo in the US. And so what is the problem today? Well, GPS is a phenomenal system, and is considered the invisible utility of modern society, but we tend to use it more than what it was intended to use for, and that involves some challenges today. Some of those challenges are things like a much weaker signal coming from 20,000 kilometers away. We have issues with the accuracy being about 2 to 3 meters, whereas applications require sub 10 centimeters. And then you can think about the civilian applications whereby there's no security on the signal. So it does make it susceptible to things like jamming and spoofing, which do happen quite often and we're beginning to see happen more regularly. And so what is it that Xona is doing differently? Well, we're looking at this from a different approach, and that is from the satellite infrastructure side. What we want to do is to leverage the new capabilities of new space, that is the reusable rockets, bringing down the cost of access to space, as well as the cheaper components that are coming off the shelf for satellites, because we have mega constellations going up. What this does is open up the realm of typically a government focused industry to now smaller commercial players. And what we've decided to do is to deploy a constellation of about 300 satellites operating in low Earth orbit. And some interesting things that you get operating in low Earth orbit are things like a much stronger signal, typically up to 100 times or maybe even up to 1,000 times stronger than what GPS provides today. You do have the benefit of satellites moving faster across the sky, which helps with things like multipath mitigation. From our view, we've even taken it a step further by adding a layer of security on it to protect the signals for end users. So we've looked at adding encryption and authentication to our signal. We are able to provide accuracy down to 10 and sub 10 centimeters. And it is noteworthy to say that while we do have GPS or GNSS rather as an input, the system is designed to operate fully independent of it if needed. So what does that really mean going forward? Well, there is a pretty large and established corrections market available today. And those players within that industry do rely on the GPS signal, whereby you have to have some line of sight that is a clean, clear signal. So this does leave room for, some interference, in the sense that if a GPS signal is interfered by a jammer or a foliage, you might have accuracies that might be affected from that. With our new signal and new satellite constellation, we are essentially addressing this problem from the root cause. And what that means is that we're able to provide things like a global coverage, resilient, high accuracy, high integrity signal that does help with things like acquisition assistance, spoofing protection, as I mentioned earlier, and the centimeter accuracy, as well as the fast PPP convergence. Now, from a business standpoint, well, we are a fairly new company, and we do have to integrate ourselves into the larger ecosystem of this space. What that means is, if we're operating typically as a infrastructure company, we do have to provide and work with partners to enable our service to be delivered to end consumers. So what that looks like for us is working with receiver manufacturing companies and chipset manufacturing companies to integrate our signal into their products and enable their products to be integrated into the OEMs and allow us to provide that service to the end consumer on a subscription basis. And that subscription basis is something that we learned a long time ago from Silicon Valley. If you want to keep a refresh technology, if you want to refresh the technology often. In terms of what value proposition that we would provide to those end consumers with our new signal, we're looking at things like a complete independent backup to GPS. As I mentioned, a sub 10 centimeter accuracy, where precision is key. We do operate a dual band service where one signal is closer towards the GPS side, so it does make it compatible with existing GNSS chipset architecture. The high integrity signal with encryption and authentication is incredibly valuable these days due to a lot of jamming and spoofing occurrences that we've seen. And of course, as I mentioned, the faster motion across the sky does help with the multi-path mitigation aspect. So building a constellation of 300 satellites does take an enormous amount of budget, and as a VC-backed company, we do require to generate some service initially, and so we're looking to deploy our service on a 3-phase rollout. The first phase would be a 36 satellite constellation, whereby we'd be able to provide things like a correction service and time transfer for stationary users. Now, that service does cover most of the mid-latitudes, about 70% of the Earth. And then in phase 2, we're looking to provide that same service, but then more on a global scale. By the time we reach our full constellation of about 276 satellites, we'd be looking to provide a full global navigation service, whereby you get your centimeter precision, and you do have, essentially an independent backup to GPS or to GNSS. So Xona Space Systems is about 2 years old. How did we get here? It's been a whirlwind journey, and we have about 3 times more employees that we did in day one. In 2020, earlier in the year, we closed a seed round of a pre-seed round of about $1 million. That allowed us to hire some dedicated engineering capabilities, and that helped us to build our initial ground test demonstration, which you see in the picture up here. And essentially what that able to do is allow us to test the payload and understand how this could operate potentially in space. We've also had the support of winning some US DoD programs of record, which enabled us to even hire more engineers to work on our product. After the closing of our pre-seed round, we've completed our ground demonstration, and we've also closed out our seed round of $10 million in October last year. That $10 million has allowed us to prepare for a launch of our first demonstration satellite in orbit later this year, just before summer. And what that looks like is a two-phase launch approach. One satellite going up in June and another scheduled to go up in October. I should note that we are in the process of raising a Series A now, and that would help us get to a first production satellite launch that I mentioned in the previous slide, so about 36 satellites there. In terms of what it takes to get to where we are, we do have a superb and all-star team from folks within the GPS world. The GPS lab in Stanford, places like Lockheed Martin, and some folks from the receiver manufacturing side on our team. We've also juxtaposed this with our superb board of advisory, wherein we have folks like Daniel Lahmann from uBlocks, folks from the original GPS program, as well as folks from Lockheed Martin. In terms of our investors and other support, we have Seraphim Space Capital, the first space venture fund, as well as Toyota Ventures, who led our pre-seed, our seed round late last year. And so in terms of what we're looking for going forward now, partnerships within the receiver side, simulator folks, and anyone who would be interested in getting involved in our demonstration later this year. That's it, and thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Miguel. That was very nice, and we thank you for the presentation. Now, then I'll pass the word to Romain. The floor is yours.
Okay, thanks a lot. So I'm Romain Legros, the CEO and founder of Geoflex. I'm very happy to be among you this morning or afternoon, depending your location. So in Geoflex, we are involved of hyper geolocation. So we augment the accuracy of satellite system. So we augment the accuracy of GPS, GLONASS. So GPS is, of course, the American system. GLONASS, the Russian one, Beidou, the Chinese one, Galileo, the European one. All those systems allows an accuracy of positioning in the order of few meters. And we augment this accuracy to pass from few meters down to few centimeters in real time or in post-processing everywhere in the world, on land, at sea, and in the air. And to achieve this performance, we work with a technology coming from CNES. CNES standing for Centre National d'Études Spatiales. This is the French space agency. The CNES has developed a first asset of technical algorithm, software, etc., patents, developed those last 12 years. And in Geoflex, we industrialize and commercialize the technology. So we are working close to the CNES, and we are the commercial operator of the technology. So our technology is designed for integrator. Our customer are technological integrator, and we provide them. We will see on the next slide a correction data stream that the integrator could synchronize to the raw measurement of their GNSS receiver to be able to augment the accuracy. And in Geoflex, we are in the topic of GNSS augmentation since more than 20 years, with the development of a first company that was, and that is, because the company already exists, the fourth worldwide operator. So how does it works? We have a global permanent infrastructure made of GNSS receiver. We have 80 GNSS receiver everywhere in the world. Each satellite is seen by at least 6 reference stations on the ground, which have a good repartition. All the raw measurements made on this infrastructure are sent in real time through telecom data link to different data centers, one in Europe, another one in North America, a third one in Asia. And in those data centers, we have a first piece of software that enable us to model in real time all the satellite dependent errors, where the satellites are located, where they broadcast their signal, all the error regarding the clocks of the different satellites, the electronic biases. All those quantities are common for all users, and so we can broadcast those quantities through different or multiple telecom data link, basically through internet, to be able to feed the GNSS receiver of our customer that will synchronize the correction data stream to their raw measurement to be able to obtain the centimetric positioning of their application. And so for maritime or marine or application, to obtain the precise location of the boat for mapping, we will see just after the different application or dynamic positioning system. And so to ensure the maximum of compatibility, we are able to provide a positioning engine. This is a second piece of software that will synchronize our correction data stream to the GNSS observation of the receiver of the customer. So the business model consists to sell the correction data stream under subscription and optionally the positioning engine as a software license. And very important things, we broadcast our correction data stream through standard to be independent or agnostic of the GNSS receiver of our customer. So we are a pure PPP operator. Basically, what we do, you can see there the trajectory of a car in downtown. You have in yellow the reference trajectory of the car. You have in green what we can achieve with our technology, with an accuracy of few centimeters. And you have in red the trajectory without the application of our correction data stream. So this is exactly the same observation, the same raw data measurement. If you apply your correction data stream, you obtain the green dot. If you don't apply your correction to the same measurement, you obtain the red trajectory. So, for example, I assume that everybody is agreed to be in the green car instead of the red one, for example, for autonomous driving. So, as previously explained, there is a big topic regarding the safety of the application. For precise, if you have the precision and localization, you have to be safe. And to ensure safety, anti-jamming, etc., we are able to perform tight hybridization between GNSS with PPP. So with PPP, we are able to model and estimate all the error affecting GNSS measurement and detect spoofing but we are also able to mix LiDAR, radar, camera, inertial motion, odometry, to fuse all those information to obtain a very safe and very available positioning everywhere in the world. And so doing this, we won a first CES award in Las Vegas in 2019 in the category of vehicle intelligence and self-driving technology. We start to work with SNCF, which is the French railway national operator, to be able to dematerialize the rail signaling. We won the Dubai World Challenge for self-driving transportation in Dubai in 2019. We start the same year to work with Group Renault to design better advanced driver assistance system with partial automation. We start to work with Orange and Airbus at the beginning of the 2020. We work with Total Energy in marine application for a rig oil monitoring system to be able to detect in real time the movement, the subsidence movements of rig oil platform and the displacement of platforms, down to millimeter accuracy if we perform average of positioning during few hours. We start to work, and this is a very important thing, to be able to broadcast the correction data stream for marine application. We start to work with Thales, Alenia Space, to be able to broadcast our corrections through telecom satellite in monodirectional way. We won in 2021 a second CES award in the same vehicle intelligence and self-driving technology for the safe or secure PPP. And we were among the top 3 companies of the Mobility 4.0 challenge made by Software Republic with Renault, ST Microelectronics, Thales, Dassault, and Atos. So in terms of marine and harbor use cases, a precise and safe GNSS is useful for geospatial and mapping. You can see, for example, if we perform the precise trajectory of an aerial drone, we are able to determine or to compute the different images through the photogrammetric process to be able to reconstruct a digital twin for the aerial part of an infrastructure. And if we use a precise GNSS positioning on a boat with an echo sounder equipment, we are able to see under the water to be able to obtain the continuity between the different parts of an harbor infrastructure with the aerial part, with its aerial part and underwater parts. Having these digital twins, we are able to perform machinery guidance for dredging, for example, for structure stakeout as this wind turbine that we can place at the right place to ensure verticality, stability. We are able to monitor the structure deformation in harbor, etc., etc. So it's a very important things to perform construction and mapping. And after that, we are also able to facilitate navigation with automatic guidance in the navigation channel, docking assistance, and dynamic positioning system to be able to automatize the navigation, as you can see in this picture, to be able to pass about in the different part of the harbor infrastructure. We are also able to use our correction data stream on smartphone to be able to perform collaborative mapping of complex and dynamic infrastructure harbor hours, to perform security and emergency services, to perform augmented reality with an accuracy of 1 meter on smartphone. So you can see there, for example, what you have with a smartphone without our correction data stream and with the application of our correction data stream on the right. and doing the positioning on smartphone under Android system. We are also able to perform positioning of very little GNSS receiver for Internet of Things, or positioning of application for new mobility of goods and new logistics service to be able to follow very accurately the positioning of goods. In terms of customer, what we have already done, we are working with the French Navy, military Navy, the CHOM, Service hydrographique et océanographique de la marine. As we demonstrate there, we are able to obtain, with a confidence level of 95%, the accuracy on the vertical component for bathymetric operation with an accuracy of 8 cm with this confidence level of 95% and 4 cm for horizontal positioning. We demonstrate in terms of post-processing that we are able to ensure the stability or to monitor the stability of rig oil platform, but also wind turbines, for example. In real time at the scale for the vertical component with this confidence level of 95% at 5.5 cm, which less than 4 cm for each horizontal component. So this is for real-time application. And if we decide to average all the position during 2-hour session, 6-hour session, and 24-hour session, we are able to pass from 5.5 cm to 3.9, 2.5, 0.8, 8 millimeter to monitor very little movement on marine infrastructure. So if you have any question, you will be welcome. It will be my pleasure to discuss with each of you. Thanks a lot.
Romain, thanks for this. Again, very impressive presentation, and I think it's a learning experience for us, getting in contact with new ideas and different business models. What I would do now is I would ask a question for all the attendees. I will start with Francisco Cunha. And I have one question: is if you could bring us some insights, how has technology advanced, and in what ways that has it surprised you, and opened new avenues that had never seen before? So the role of technology advancement, and that in what extent it came as a surprise for you, and that it definitely brought a business to you.
Okay, Josette, thanks. It's actually a very interesting question. I would divide the answer in two types of technology: the upstream technology that we take to the satellites, and then what we call the downstream technology. Okay, and when we talk about the upstream technology, what has been quite impressive to see is the new sensors that have been developed in recent years, and the velocity in which they are being taken to space. We have a lot of companies deploying new sensors, and so it's this has become quite impressive because there are a set of applications that we believe will continue to appear and to emerge that we currently don't up until now we didn't foresee, that are being enabled by new sets of sensors. And then, of course, the artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is opening new ways for looking into data and extracting value from data.
Okay. Well, thank you, Francisco. Yes, definitely some key aspects, as you mentioned, the artificial intelligence are really driving change, not only in the space market, but many others. And we are seeing lots of opportunities that just maybe 5-10 years ago was really not so clear. I would so Miguel, I would ask the same question. How has technology advanced in ways that have surprised you, and that brought new business for you guys?
Yeah, sure. I mean, and so yeah, you know, the main thing about that has allowed a company like us to move as fast as we have is really on the miniaturization of satellites, right? You know, we're talking about things that used to be the size of a small car or a small bus, and are now the size of, say, a shoebox. And you juxtapose that with the cost of actually launching to space with reusable rockets. I think, you know, the confluence of those two things creates, you know, an environment, an enabling environment for much smaller players like us to begin to operate, you know, and have a chance to develop technology that can serve a wide verticals and sectors.
Okay, Miguel, thank you for that. Well, yes, definitely one point that you raised is about miniaturization. Yes, so satellites were never too big to start with, but the reduction of size has a huge impact. We know impact size, satellite life, launch costs, etc. Less power consumption, more functionality, and definitely it's a key driver.
To give a little bit of context, the cost of a typical GPS satellite can be somewhere within the realm of about $300 or so million. Whereas to deploy a new constellation, say for example like ours, where we have 300 satellites, would be, you know, the cost of one GPS satellite, right? And you know, while right now you have like about 30 or so up there, so it's an incredible position to be in for small size companies today.
Definitely, again. So I think you took the words off my mouth, and I was about to put a new question, but just as time is short, I will avoid recycling the same question to everyone, because sometimes we can get just the same feedback. So picking up your remarks, I would address now Romain, and I slightly change the question. I would ask, given the context of the new space era, do you see this for your company as a door for future growth or scale up of the company?
Definitely, in conjunction with new space development, we have new opportunities for precise positioning. I explain. For example, we start to work to use our PPP to obtain the precise positioning of new constellation of satellite for imagery, telecommunication, but also for navigation. We are able, with our PPP, to obtain the precise location of each GNSS receiver that is moving up to 25,000 kilometers. So, for example, we could imagine obtain the precise positioning of low Earth orbit satellite for the different field of application. We are also discussing and working to provide very safe, very precise, of course, but also safe location for new reusable launcher, to be able to reuse the launcher to launch little satellites. So definitely there is a huge market there with a big add value, and so we start to catch our part of this big cake. So it's very exciting.
Well, yes, Romain. So we can see that from different perspectives here. We see that there seems to be a lot of verticalization and, say, integration or cross-link. You mentioned there's the user segment, there's the launches, the satellite themselves, in being enabled for more capabilities for existing satellites. So lots of really links that are really good synergies, I would say. Francisco, so I think GeoSat is a good example of a new space company. I'd say you have you're a double new space. So you're a new space as an operator, but you represent a new type of space company in Portugal. Do you see that the new space era can lead you also to growth and scale up?
So, Jose, I just lost the new space.
Or the question was if this new space era, and taking
Yes, for sure.
that you're a Portuguese company and the market is a bit different from some others. Do you see the new space era as a open avenue for growth and scale up of your operations and company?
Yes, for sure. One of what we see, and when you mention Earth observation, usually people know it, is that the growth of the market for now is institutional. So we have a lot of users, but the majority of the Earth observation market is institutional. And what we see is that the private market is growing, and it's growing more than the institutional market. It's not that the institutional market will not grow, but the private will grow faster. And the issue is that the private market will have users that are not experts in Earth observation. So they will need a pre-designed and a prepared interface for them to be able to interact the same way as we act with navigation platforms, and we use well, the different brands that are available. So this would allow us, as we have this consumerization and the consumers being available to using technology that up until now was only available to companies. As we see this, and we see a lot of new opportunities, and the issue is that we see it happening as we saw with drones a few years ago, is that the applications that are currently driving revenue are not the ones that we envisioned 10 to 20 years ago. So what we see is that we need to be very flexible and be able to learn the signs of the market. And I think the two examples that we get from Geoflex and from Xona are good ones, because they are taking new approaches to existing types of services as well, and be able to read the market and to adapt very quickly, because there is still a lot of uncertainty. I think it's one of the challenges, and the interesting ones is that the evolution is not yet perfectly clear, and new applications might become viral and they can evolve very, very fast. So for sure we see an opportunity, but we also see as a challenge, because we need to be fast enough to be able to tailor the situations to the market evolving needs. And don't forget that we are talking about satellites. We cannot go up there and do a hardware upgrade. We can upgrade software to some extent, but not hardware, for instance. So we need to plan ahead, and it's quite a challenge, and for sure, big opportunities ahead with the new space.
Definitely, Francisco. Well, a key aspect is that, in my view, is from decades and ages, the innovation on the space sector was mostly technology, so more performance, a bit more dimension. And now it's really the user-driven innovation. So understand the needs versus the wants. And this is really where companies must strike being dynamic enough to be able to scale up when the opportunity is there. Because in some cases, it might happen that it's a winner take all and a very price-driven competition, especially in the EU. Miguel, so I would put the question is now, what do your international collaborations look like? Is it a more competitive landscape or intelligence shared across the borders, being mindful of security?
If I understood the question, international collaboration with Xona and security?
Yeah, so I'll break the question to you. So what do your international collaborations look like? So, I mean, your links, your synergies that you draw outside of the borders. And do you see that is a competitive landscape, international?
I think that, what you begin to see, and And I'll take the example of, a place like the US and the UK. There's a requirement, a needed requirement for better GPS, or more enhanced GPS, or PNT services. Now, there's been scenarios whereby, let's say, the White House has released an executive order calling for better PNT for critical national infrastructure. A few months after that, we find that places like the UK government is funding OneWeb to do something similar with the new navigation system. I think these are all little keys to show that there is a definite interest and need within the market itself. That provides an opportunity for smaller companies, say like ours, to put our foot in the door and put ourselves in a position whereby we know that we can provide a certain service and understand what those services are needed by folks in, say, these international markets. It seems that at least the US and Europe are driving a lot of that innovation. In terms of competition, yes, there is some competition, say, from the Chinese markets, but of course, focusing more on this side, there is an opportunity for us and players to step in. We are in a position whereby we do have some of the well-renowned specialists within the GNSS space, as well as within low Earth orbit satellites architectures. So this puts us in a pretty decent position. One of the questions that was asked by Danielle is how we're able to move so fast as a small scale company, and the response really is simple. It comes down to the team being able to execute on such a large and important project and mission. I juxtapose that with the support of governments through things like grants and small business loans. That's what helps small companies like us move forward.
Okay, thank you very much. So the last question is for Romain. So given the fact that you guys are acting globally, if I recall correctly, you have 80 stations all over the globe, and it seems that you really made the most out of the connection that you had in France, so CNES, Xona Space, Total, etc. But you are all over the world. How do you see it? Is international collaborations outside France have been they fruitful for you? How do you see the competition landscape in all the places that you guys are providing service to?
By constitution, with the global navigation satellite system, we are worldwide at the beginning of the story of the company. So it's a very important challenge, a huge challenge to try to be everywhere. It's very difficult for a startup. And yes, our customers are possibly everywhere in the world. And so there is a lot of complexity to animate business of quality everywhere in the world with different culture, different practices. So it's a very interesting challenge. And today we decide before to perform a real scale up to work with big French companies as Total, Thales, Renault, and others, but we plan our internationalization because today we are 20 guys, so we have to scale up to find the right animation of our sales channels everywhere in the world. And so this is a competitive. There is a huge competition. Because the size of the downstream market are very, very important. Close to 3,000 billion of euro from the GNSS, European Space Agency, marketing figure. So definitely there is a huge competition.
Definitely, one key point is, well, you guys are 20, and the scale up is not always related of augmenting manpower. It's really, and I think you have really addressed this well, is to augment the added value of your company to your customers and partners. So overlapping partners is not so productive. It takes away resources, and definitely sometimes the international collaboration will allow you to get the resources to scale up and address other opportunities. Basically. So time is really up, and I would pass the word for the closeout of the session. While thanking every one of you guys in the panel for your excellent presentation, I can say that I will contact you guys after the meeting to check some of the key things that you presented. Thank you. Matt?
Thank you, Jose.
Yes, Jose, thank you for the brilliant job of moderating. Really appreciate you taking your time to do this. It really elevated the quality of the discussion, so thank you for this. And of course, thank you, Francisco, Miguel, and Romain for participating. Really enjoyed your presentations, and that you would take your time to do so is very much appreciated. I will close out the first BlueTech Global Connect of the year just by, again, thanking our participants and for everybody who joined. Our next BlueTech Global Connect will be on March 17th. That's a Thursday. And the theme will be A Bright Blue Future, Environmental Services Pinpointing Solutions. So this will be a diverse group of participants. Randy Lynn, the president of BioLargo. We have Dennis Calvert, the president and CEO of Biospherical, and then Sergio Gambarini, the president of Ocean Reef. So thank you all again for joining, and hopefully we'll see as many of you as possible on the 17th of March. Excuse me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a nice morning and afternoon here in Europe.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Hey.